supporters, or supposed supporters, and its detractors, and has emerged from the crucible of theoretical history stronger as a result. One of the things that we're trying to develop in the workshop is the idea that realism, far from being opposed to critical theory, is sympathetic with critical theory. That it is perhaps a form of critical theory itself, or is not opposed to critical theory in the way that many of those operating under that banner like to profess. The format of the workshop operates under the three rubrics of context, crisis, and critique. Now, why do we have this three-part form? Well, I think it's very important to put realism into context because it has been so effectively decontextualized as a theory. And one of the things we're trying to do is try to establish realism as a specifically modern, or perhaps contra-modern, to use Foucault's term, theory of international relations. Something that emerges very much not in terms of a classical supposed legacy stretching back to Thucydides, which may or may not exist, right? It's all part of a narrative that has emerged about realism. But we think that it's more specifically rooted in and to a reaction for and against, in various forms and various times, the Enlightenment. And so we decided, as we are in the home of the Scottish Enlightenment, although Glasgow may dispute that we should investigate the, I think, quite interesting links between elements of the Scottish Enlightenment and realism. Because it's the Scottish Enlightenment that poses the most foundational questions as to the nature of politics itself. Whereas we might say the German Enlightenment trying to remove politics from politics and replace politics with law. The Scottish Enlightenment directly confronts the nature of the political and the nature of knowledge itself. It's skeptical, and I would argue is a sort of ancestor of the nature of discourse embedded within realism. So myself and Martin Baer are going to address the Scottish context of realism and international relations. So after we're going to have a small break because this is the kind of day that's going to require frequent mind rests. And then we're going to start with Adam Humphreys. Adam is going to address a very important issue in realism, which is the relationship between realism and neorealism, and the fellow figure, as it were, of Kenneth Waltz, whose theory of international politics, according to Michael Williams, ended the very notion of international relations, or so I'm told. So the purpose of this is to start trying to analyze and assess the nature of the relationship. And it wasn't, I've often characterized it as a kind of Oedipal relationship between realism and neorealism. They did deliberately set out to kill the daddy. But can the daddy make a return? Has he been transformed by the nature of the encounter in 1979? So we were all changed by encounters in 1979. And then in another philosophical and theoretical context, William Sherman is going to talk about the realist revival in political philosophy, or how classical idealism got realism right. And he's going to put it in the context of recent attempts by philosophers like Raymond Geuss and Bernard Williams to, if you like, develop an almost parallel realism in political theory, which is divorced and separate from the attempts at creating realism in international relations. And the question is, what can we learn from them? And believe it or not, it may come as a shock to them, particularly Bernard Williams is dead, it may come as a shock to them that they can learn something from us. What can come out of this encounter between political theory first session, and then we're going to break for lunch, which is, I'm sure, going to be an enormous relief. And then we're going to move on and develop the other two themes of the workshop, which is realism as a theory of crisis. Now, realism grew out of perhaps the ultimate crisis of the 20th century, which is World War II, in the kind of text of realism, which is the 20 Years Crisis. So Vassal's Pipelines is going to address a huge theoretical crisis, which is the idea of tragedy, evil, and moral responsibility. I'm trying to figure out the kind of modern crisis relating to the idea of the tragedy of human existence and how realism has tried to deal with these issues. Nick Renger, if he materializes, will be talking about the crisis of unreason, modernity's longue durée, and the realist response. Again, this idea that realism is a very modern approach to theory, a modern approach to politics. And then after the break, we'll have Oliver Juttasonka talking about the crisis of moralism and morality in the context of political realism. And finally, in that panel, we'll have Daniel Keneally and Konstantinos Kostianis applying realism. I think it's very important that we begin to apply realism to the contemporary crises that face international relations. So Darren and Costas are going to address the current implosion of the euro currency system in the European system, and do this by reference to realism as a theory of crisis. And then tomorrow we have the final sort of critical interrogation of realism, which is to investigate realism as critical theory. So we're going to have Bebeke Shuchalwa and Mike Williams talking about the grand strategy, the grand politics of realism, to set out a sort of agenda for realism. Felix Resch is going to talk about realism as social criticism, the thinking partnership of Hannah Arendt and Hans Morgenthau. And then we're going to embrace the technology that led to Morgenthau's own alienation in the late 60s, early 70s. And we're going to Skype in two other commentators, Timothy Luke, who will be talking about the verdictive powers of contradiction inherent in realism. It's realism's ability to work out contradictions, to confront contradiction. It's one of its powers and strengths of the theory. And finally, there's a change to the title by Dan Levine. Dan has decided that he's not going to provoke us all props with sticks by saying why Hans Morgenthau is not a critical theorist. What he's going to do is examine the limits of critique within the realist tradition. And then finally, and in some respects perhaps most importantly, we're going to discuss where do we go to next in the recovery and reclamation of realism. And we're going to discuss kind of strategies for promoting and disseminating the nature of our kind of realism within a very vociferous discourse. You've got neo-realism, you've got offensive realism, defensive